Shalom. Tawab Yawam. Good morning. Good morning on this hella day. Well, it is a hella day. It's a day. It's not rooted in paganism though. It's this Labor Day weekend. You know, a day that the slaves had an extra day, I guess, to sleep off that plantation. Shalom, brother. Eminem in the building, man.
What's going on, y'all?
Those brothers bringing them lessons in the morning. I'll be seeing them outside. Yeah, for that spirituality, food.
Top of the morning, people. What's up with it, man? Just sitting here, just doing some reading. It's an interesting book in our hand called the Book of Philo. Yeah, some interesting stuff in it. For one who hasn't read it, it'll definitely give a little more in-depth meaning to the scriptures. So we're gonna do some reading today. See if y'all ride with us.
Come. On our way back to the STL St. Louis, right? Coming from the way of Memphis, Tennessee, out there with the brothers. You know what I'm saying, for the Crunk for Christ concert. You know what I'm saying? Had a good time. I'm about to share the video on the Army of Israel channel, E37 channel. But you can watch the whole concert on the Maccabees Memphis or Memphis Maccabees, either one. I'm saying something wrong. But shout out to the brothers out there for readjusting the event, and for those that showed up, a few already. You know what I'm saying? And so the Most High YAHAWAH is good. MASHAYACH just got pulled over by the police. He said I was going 90. You know, we was about to get in the book, so I was focused on the book, even though I was being a little speed demon. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, through the grace of the Most High, agree with thy adversaries quickly while he is in the way, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, gave us a warning words, right? You know what I mean? So it always feel good when you don't got any negative searches on thy record, because we all have a record, right? You know what I'm saying? Your driver's license is a record, you know what I'm saying? Your date of birth, and they can look up and see if you're a felon or you're a criminal or you got warrants, you know what I mean? So I don't really be stressing, man, because, you know, I be in Romans 13. You know what I'm saying? But all praise go to the Most High, MASHAYACH. I'm about to get into this book of Philo, man. You know what I'm saying? We're going to read about the greatest topic on the planet Earth.
What's that?
The woman. The woman, of course. You see what I'm saying? Man's glory. The woman is the man's glory, correct? I heard. Right? You see what I'm saying? And the glory of the woman is her hair. It's unbelievable. Your hair is the illest. But anyway, anywho, I'm just being a little jokey, try to wake up. But I'm gonna read this book, read some information out of the book of Philo, right? Which was a Hebrew Israelite from the tribe of Judah, right? That dwelt in Alexandria, okay? Which was before Josephus, okay? First and foremost. It also goes in and talks about he was a contemporary of Paul and Hamashiach YAHAWASHI. Alright? So it's official. You know what I mean? So those that you know, may question certain records and things of that nature, we also have historians, right? Just like when we went to go to Esau schools, they have history. Right? So we're gonna go into it and see if it matches what the script says. Right? So Brother Eminem gonna read something for you. Go ahead, Em.
Says, why did the serpent accost the woman and not the man?
Accosted the woman. What is that? Approaches, right? Why did the serpent decided to deal with the woman, right? You know what I'm saying? Wow.
Yeah. The serpent, having formed his estimate of virtue, devised a treacherous stratagem.
A treacherous strategy. right? So the serpent was being treacherous, right? A strategy, right? He planned this. Go ahead.
For the sake of bringing mortality on them.
For the sake of bringing what?
Mortality.
Not immortality.
Mortality.
Right. So we was immortals. Okay. We was made to live forever. Okay. You see what I'm saying? Right. In this earthly terrestrial plane, being celestial beings in the physical realm. Right. We were still created to be, immortal beings, just experiencing the terrestrial reality. You know what I'm saying? From the celestial plane. Okay. So what's going on, right? Let's see what's going on here. Here goes Satan plotting against the celestial terrestrial beings. I'm saying that wrong, kind of, but yeah, celestial beings experiencing terrestrial reality. And let's see what's going on here. He didn't go to Adam. He didn't go to man, but he went to the woman. Go ahead.
But the woman was more accustomed to be deceived.
The woman is more what?
The woman was more accustomed to be deceived than the man.
The woman is more accustomed to be deceived than the man. That is very deep. You see what I'm saying? Very deep. Okay? And this is a reality, man. You see what I'm saying? These women, for the most part, they love smooth words. They love lies. You see what I'm saying? Just tell them what they want to hear, that tickle their ear, right? You see what I'm saying? And they'll run with every wind of doctrine or every damn fantasy somebody will tell them. And this is why they live in this fantasy world, America, and all the nonsense that America have trained our people up, you know what I'm saying, since we was children. You know what I'm saying? With all these fantasies, Disney, right? Snow White and all this stuff like that. All these, make-believe things that's not really for real, for real. And a lot of women get caught up with lies, sorcery. Go ahead, bro.
For his counsels as well as his body of a masculine sort, and competent to disentangle the notions of seduction.
Like she's incapable to see seduction, man. Read that again, read that part again.
For his counsels as well as his body are of a masculine sort, and competent to disentangle the notions of seduction.
Right, so the masculine principle, we don't fall for that seduction. Okay? We don't fall for the seduction. That's a woman's trait. Okay? You see what I'm saying? That's why Satan couldn't go to Adam. All right? Because we wired not to fall for the sorcery, man. That's why I say those statements. Because sorcery doesn't mean you just using potions and this, that, and the third. Is also being cunning, using wisdom, beguiling. Okay? That's why I say brothers out here be goddamn sorcerers and shit, man. You see what I'm saying? Right? And if you sharp in the spirit, you can see and observe brothers out here, you know what I mean, that's full of SHIT, man. Shit. Right? Just by listening to them. Okay? They disingenuous, man. Real talk. You know what I'm saying? And women and weak-minded brothers are fall for it every single damn time, man. And there's a lot of you out there. All right? It's that thy time has not come as yet. Go ahead.
But the mind of the woman is more effeminate.
What? More effeminate. So we got the feminine principle and the masculine principle, and we got these black conscious people that always talk about the feminist principle, the goddess concept, like, like they're above the masculine. You see what I'm saying? That's why they don't want to do with the Bible, because the Bible cuts that. Okay? If the woman was God, why would she fall victim to Satan? But go ahead.
So that through her softness she easily yields and is caught by the persuasions of falsehood.
See that? Because she's the feminine principle. Read that part again.
But the mind of the woman is more feminine, so that through her softness she easily yields and is easily caught by the persuasions of falsehood.
Easily persuaded. You see what I'm saying? Easily persuaded. And a lot of these women know this, right? They know this, and a lot of them use that concept, you know what I'm saying, as excuses. You see what I'm saying? Because in them, they understand some of these things. And this is why Eve said, oh, the serpent beguiled me. But the Most High didn't ask her ask that. He said, what is this that thou hast done, woman? He already know what you did. He didn't ask you who, nothing. He said, what did you do? Right? So these women are easily seduced. That's why it talks about silly women. They are laden with sin. So let's not forget about those concepts. Don't say you're just a silly woman without you being laden with goddamn sins. You see what I'm saying? Right? But go ahead.
It says,
Shalom,
easily caught by the persuasions of falsehood, which imitate the resemblance of truth.
Right. So you got to have some truth there to make it real. Okay? You see what I'm saying? That's why a lot of sisters fall out of the truth, because they really not rooted in the truth, man. They're not. I'm just gonna keep it 1,000. You sisters not really rooted about this truth, man. The Most High says, Proverbs 8:4, unto you, O men, I call my voice unto the sons of men. Right? Isaiah 13:12, I believe it is, right? I will make a man more precious than fine gold, right? He gonna refine the men of Israel. Okay? You see what I'm saying? Right? The scripture talks about in 1 Ezra 3:4 that the woman is stronger than the wine and the king. And the king is supposed to have all power. He's a man. But she's not stronger than the truth. So when you brothers stand on the 100% truth, you see what I'm saying? That she can't do nothing with you. You see what I'm saying? But the seduction is some truth in there with nothing but lies and deception. You see what I'm saying? And it's tickling the ear, right? And it empowers them, like from the beginning, right? She was going to be a what? Goddess. You see what I'm saying? So why would she not want to have power, right? When she was created to be a helpmeet to Adam, his servant. But then here comes Satan and said, nah, you ain't got to be that. You could be a god. You could be wise. The fruit is good. Make one wise. All these different seduction things, man. Well, go ahead.
Since therefore in his old age the serpent stripped himself of his scales from the top of his head to his tail, he by his nakedness approaches man, because he has exchanged death for immortality.
So he have already exchanged death for, right, for immortality. He was immortal, right? But then he went against his nature, or his divine nature, I should say, right? And now he became what? Mortal. You know what I'm saying? So now he ain't want to be for dolo. I'm taking everybody with me. You see what I'm saying? So I can't get to Adam. I can't get to the man. I can't get to this man. So I have to get the woman. Okay? You see what I'm saying? And you brothers got to understand that, man, and stand in your power, man. Shalom says, right? You brothers was created, us men were created different, man. Okay? And this is another reason why these women be talking about, you know, it's your fault. It's your fault. They blame it on the man. It's your fault, right? You see what I'm saying? If you out of order, then we all out of order. You see what I'm saying? That go right back to Genesis 3, man. The blame game, man. You see what I'm saying? Because they understand, and in their spirit, they know that they have jacked up mankind, man. You see what I'm saying? You can get mad all you want. It's just what it is. It's the truth. The scriptures clearly speaks of it, and it speaks of it right now. Daniel Israel, Shalom, Denise. Go ahead.
It says, his nature is renewed by the beast and made to resemble every time. The woman, when she sees this, is deceived, when she ought rather to have looked upon him as an example, who, while showing his ingenuity to her, was full of devices.
See that? She should have been looking at this man as an example of what not to do. You see what I'm saying? right? The Most High have evil and good, right and wrong, so we can see the difference. You won't know evil unless you know what's good. You don't know what's good unless you know what evil is.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And once she seen and understood that his immortality was stricken from him, why she didn't just say, you know what? I don't know what that is, or she's seen what it is, obviously, because they was immortal beings. You know what I'm saying? But she didn't look at it in that spiritual realm. She didn't look at it from that perspective. She's carnal minded. And he's going to talk about that. And this is why you women have to have a head. Okay? You cannot just lead yourself. You never led yourself. You always had a man over you. Your pops, if your pops was gone, was your uncle, there was some man in the family. Your brother, like LeBron, was over what? Rebecca. Okay? He gave her into marriage. You see what I'm saying? You women want to be independent because you're dealing with that Willie Lynch making of a slave syndrome, man. You're never independent. But you was independent of your man because he was destroyed. Right? But go ahead. That's another story. Yeah, finish reading.
The woman, when she sees this is deceived, when she ought rather to have looked upon him as an example, who while showing his ingenuity toward her was full of devices, but she was led to desire to acquire a life which should be free from old age.
See that? She required. So she didn't realize that she was already immortal. And by she seeing now that the serpent now has put on mortality, that now he's looking old. He's looking finished. You see what I'm saying? Go ahead. So she's scared. That's why a lot of these women are scared to get old, because they're scared to lose their what? Beauty.
So yeah, so the next line says from all decay.
Go ahead.
And it says, why the serpent tells the woman lies, saying, what Yahweh had said was...
Bring that back and somebody try to call.
Why the serpent tells the woman lies, saying, Yah said, you shall not eat of every tree in the paradise, when, on the contrary, what Yah really had said was, ye shall eat of every tree in the paradise except one.
Oh, so this is oh, yeah, read that again, because this is the word sorcery. This is what I call word sorcery. They switch the words around. You see what I'm saying? Read that again.
Why the serpent tells the woman lies, saying, Yah said, you shall not eat of every tree in the paradise, when on the contrary, what Yah really had said was,
yeah, you should not eat
you shall eat of every tree in the paradise except one. Right.
So he's switching the words around, except one. You should eat of all the trees of the garden except one. Right? If you look at how it's worded, he's confusing her. Right? That's seduction, man. That's beguiling. Go ahead.
It is the custom for contending arguers to speak falsely in an artful manner, in order to produce ignorance of the real facts, as was done in this case.
Boy, I see brothers out here do this, and they got hundreds of people on the live feed listening to the bogus BS. It just blows my mind, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can never catch me out there with that type of spirit. Go ahead.
In order to produce ignorance of the real facts, as was done in this case. Since the man and the woman had been commanded to eat of all the trees but one, but this insidious prompter of wickedness coming in, says that the order which they had received was that which they should not eat of them at all. He brought forth an ambiguous statement as a slippery stumbling block to cause the soul to trip.
Right.
For this expression, you shall not eat of every tree, means in the first place either not even of one, which is false, or secondly, not of everyone, as if he intended to say there are some of which you may not eat, which is true. Therefore he asserts a falsehood more explicitly.
See that? See that? It's just wordplay. You see what I'm saying? It's wordplay. Okay? And it has to have truth in it. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
It says, why, when it was commanded them to avoid eating of the one plant alone, The woman also made a further addition to this injunction, saying, He said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it. Yeah, he didn't say that. In the first place, she says this because taste and every other sense after its kind consists in the touch appropriate to it. In the second place, she says it that it may seem to condemn themselves who did what they had been forbidden. For if even the mere act of touching it was prohibited, how could they who besides touching the tree presume to eat of the fruit, and so add a greater transgression to the lesser one, but be anything but condemners and punishers of themselves?
Right. So she's not even understanding that you're not supposed to touch it. So what more about eating it? You gotta touch it before you eat it, right?
Right.
Okay. So he's switching it around, saying, well, you can eat. You're not supposed to eat up all of. You can eat up all the fruit in the midst of the garden except one, right? You can eat one, but the vice versa was saying you can eat one but not all.
Mm-hmm.
It's this wordplay. But go ahead.
What is the meaning of the expression, Ye shall be gods, knowing good and evil? Whence was it that the serpent found the plural word gods when there is only one true God, and when this is the first time that he names him? But perhaps this arises from there having been in him a certain prescient wisdom, by which he now declared the notion of the multitude of gods, which was at a future time to prevail amongst men. And perhaps history now relates this correctly at its first being advanced not only by any rational being, nor by any creature of the higher class, but as having derived its origin from the most virulent and vile of beasts and serpents, since other similar creatures lie hid under the earth, and their lurking places are in the holes and fissures of the earth. Moreover, it is the inseparable sign of a being endowed with reason to look upon Yah as essential, the one being, but it is the mark of a beast to imagine there are many gods, and these two devoid of reason, who can scarcely be said with propriety to have any existence at all.
So what you think is basically saying is talking about mentioning ye should be as gods, right? So obviously when you read the story, he was just talking to her, right? So incorporating Adam, you know what I'm saying? Okay. Or like he was saying, it could have been a prophetic thing about, you know, other gods that's going to arrive in the earth like there are now. You see what I'm saying? There was one power that gave them instructions. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, it's just including her as a god. You see what I'm saying? And this is the concept of women don't want to stand in their order. You see what I'm saying? Right? It's disorder. Right? When you look up the word God, it means ruler. Okay? You see what I'm saying? And some people say, well, she was a ruler before she was cursed. No, she was never ruling over man, because she was made for man, from man, and was given to man. So if somebody give you something, it's your possession. You now belongs to me. Can he read just a little louder? Yeah, come read a little louder. You was reading kind of low. Yeah, okay.
Moreover, it is the inseparable sign of a being endowed with reason to look upon Yah as essentially one being, but it is the mark of a beast to imagine that there are many. Okay, I read that. Moreover, the devil proceeds with great art, speaking by the mouth of the serpent. For not only is there in the divinity the knowledge of good and evil, but there is also an approval of what is good and a repudiation of what is evil. But he does not speak of either of these feelings because they were useful, but only suggestful the mere knowledge of the two contrary things, namely of good and evil. In the second place, the expression as gods, in the plural number, is in this place not used inconsiderately, but in order to give the idea of there being both a bad and a good God. And these are of a twofold quality. Therefore, it is suitable to the notion of particular gods to have a knowledge of contrary things, but the supreme cause is above all others.
Oh, so if you're a God, then you have knowledge on all levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So that puts you on a higher spiritual plane, I guess I should say. That's the word I'm using, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, all these things is being suggested. These are just various, you know what I'm saying, spiritual affirmations or, you know what I'm saying, breakdowns of possibilities, you know what I'm saying, of things that was going on or could be going on in the mind of the woman and the mind of Satan at this time. You see what I'm saying? All right? So, Shalom, Uncle Obed. Good morning to thouist. Go ahead, bro. We in Philo. Go ahead.
Why the woman first touched the tree and ate of its fruit, and the man afterwards receiving it from her. The words used first of all, Salakia, by their own intrinsic force, assert that it was suitable that immortality and every good thing should be represented as under the power of the man, and death and every evil under that of the woman.
Whoa, 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 brother. Read that again, brother. You're going off.
The words used first of all, by their own intrinsic force, assert that it was suitable that immortality and every good thing should be represented as under the power of the man.
Ooh, wait a minute. Everything that's good, it said, is represented under the power and authority of the man. Understand that, right? Understand that. You see what I'm saying? This is not to beat down the woman. It's just to bring forth the reality of the truth. You see what I'm saying? And the divinity and the power that the Most High did when he created man. Right? See what I'm saying? After his image. You was made after our image, man. Woman. Go ahead. So everything. Read that one more time. That was hard body. I gotta let them see my response. Go ahead, read that again.
The words used first of all, I'm gonna go backwards.
Yeah.
Why the woman first touched the tree and ate of its fruit, and the man afterwards receiving it from her.
So now we're getting a better understanding, right? A perspective of why this happened. Why? Go ahead.
The words used first of all by their own intrinsic force assert that it was suitable that immortality and every good thing should be represented as under the power of the man, and death and every evil under that of the woman.
All right. So this is what's being said and inserted in and understood as, you know, two contrasts between good and evil in man and woman. As man is being attached to good and woman is being attached to evil. Go ahead.
But with reference to the mind, the woman.
But reference to the mind of the woman,
when understood symbolically, is sense, and the man is intellect.
Hold up. The what? Say it again. The man is what?
Intellect.
The man is intellect. See? You brothers, we supposed to be the intellectuals. Right? That's hard body, man. See what I'm saying? The man is created to be the intellect. Right? Who is the most intellectual being but the Father? Right? See what I'm saying? Who can make all these things that you see out here? All these trees and rocks and different trees and birds and insects and rocks and stones and all the different uniqueness of every individual. You see what I'm saying? You have to be a masterful intellect, man, to do these things. You think the world, this whole world was just blown up, it just blew up and all these things came in order? That's ridiculous, man. All the different birds and fishes and trees and insects and all these different things that have its own course, right? It has to be a divine intellect, and the man is considered the intellect here on this terrestrial plane that the Most High made for man to govern and rule. And this is why man runs the world. But let's not get it twisted. These women have power, And the scriptures confirm it in the Josephus. It confirms it in Ezra's. These women have power because they was also, you know what I'm saying, given power by Hashatan. Okay? And the woman is the glory of man. You see what I'm saying? And all through the history and the records of the scriptures, we see that man have succumbed to the ploys of women, including myself. Go ahead. But we supposed to be the intellect.
Moreover, the outward senses do of necessity touch those things which are perceptible by them.
See that? The woman is outward. We're supposed to be inwardly. Go ahead.
But it is through the medium of the outward senses that things are transmitted to the mind.
See that? So, and this goes into psychology because your brain, right, responds to the 5 senses, right? Sight, right? Smell, taste, hearing, and touch. So everything that you see, right? Everything that you see, and it talks about what you see is probably like 70-80% of what you learn. Okay? See what I'm saying? So these things that you see is sent into your brain, right? And it's programmed. And when you get understanding of what color is this? Green. You don't know that's green till somebody say that's green, right? You may see it as green, but you don't know if it's green. You can't attach that word. You can't attach green to it unless you was taught that's green, right? You see what I'm saying? You don't know the smell of chicken until somebody say that's chicken. What's that smell? Oh,
that's that bird.
That's that bird. That's chicken. How do you know it's chicken unless somebody told you? You smelled it, but you don't know if that's chicken, right? So everything is being defined in your brain, right? And that's where the place it makes sense. When you go into the study of how the brain operates, man. You see what I'm saying? But go ahead. That's a whole nother zone. I mean, I'm on that right now for real though. But go ahead.
Moreover, the outward senses do of necessity touch those things which are perceptible by them, but it is through the medium of the outward senses that things are transmitted to the mind. For the outward senses are influenced by the objects which are presented to them, and the intellect by the outward senses.
See that? So our intellect, it goes together, right? Our intellect is influenced by what? The outward. You see what I'm saying? The outward sense, where we see, hear, smell, touch, taste. That's why I talked about her, don't touch or taste it. You know what I'm saying? It goes together because now you get to see, oh, this is soft, this is hard, this is smooth, this is squishy. All those things is programming your brain, your mind, your spirit, right? And you get understanding. That's why a baby that's 2 years old, what they do all the time, they touch every damn thing, right? They're learning and downloading these files of what this is, or they tasting, they put things in their mouth, okay? Knowing what's hard, what's soft. You know what I'm saying? Liquids, this, that, and the third. That's why they always put things in their mouth. It's a natural thing that you're programming your brain about the things that you hear as a child, as a baby, as you nursing it in your mom, which she's the first teacher, right? You see what I'm saying? And the nurture of the child, right? So everything that you're doing, everything that they're hearing, everything that they're seeing, everything that they're touching, everything that they're smelling, every single thing is programming them and forming their mind from the things that we see from the outward and experience from the outward. Okay? You see what I'm saying? And man is supposed to be spiritual. You know what I'm saying? Which is a direct link to the Most High on a whole other level. You know what I'm saying? Well, we interpret the things that we see, and I'm trying to get the right word. We interpret the things that we see, touch, taste, hear, and we what's the word? Like, you filter it through the word of the Most High. See what I'm saying? All right, but go ahead. Let's see what else is saying.
It says, for the outward senses are influenced by the objects. Okay. It says, what is the meaning of the expression, and she gave it to her husband to eat with her? What has just been said.
And so the statement is, she gave right? It's giving you what it says in Genesis. She gave. So when you people out there constantly talking about grow up in the spirit, man. What the women love to try to say in weak brews that's still under that doctrine that he blamed Eve. She gave him of the fruit. And when the Most High asked him, who told you you was naked? Who told you? Who told you? If you're thinking of a physical thing, who gave you of the fruit? It was nobody but the woman. It wasn't Hashatan. It wasn't Satan. It wasn't the serpent in the garden. It's the woman that thou madest and gavest to me. She gave me of the fruit. How you're blaming somebody if that's the person that gave it to you? That's ridiculous. If we just said Satan, then we'd have been lying. Okay? But let's go. Let's go.
That they were not created blind is manifest, even from this fact that as all other things, both animals and plants, were created in perfection, so also man must have been adorned with the things which are his most excellent parts, mainly eyes.
Right. See that? See that? So they wasn't blind, okay, physically, because all animals and all things on this earth, for the most part, have sight. Okay? They have some type of sense. You know, bats don't physically see, but their hearing is impeccable. It's crazy, right? They got enhanced other senses. That's why if you lose one sense, another sense becomes stronger, or whatever the case is. But right? So the blindness had nothing to do with physical. It was spiritual. But go ahead.
And
because you think about it, if you say you're naked, if you got a whole suit on, how you naked?
So this has to be spiritual.
It got to be spiritual.
You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? Because you can see, well, shoot, we have no skin on. I mean, we don't have no outer garment on. We just natural.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's spiritual.
Right.
Go ahead.
And we may especially prove this because a little while before the earthborn Adam was given names to all the animals on the earth. Therefore, it is perfectly plain that he saw them before doing so. Unless indeed Moses used the expression eyes in a figurative sense for the vision of the soul, by which alone the perception of good and evil, of what is elegant or unsightly, and in fact of all contrary natures arise.
Right, so he saw animals. You seen animals with wool and fur and hair and all type of stuff like that. They had some type, that's their clothing, right? That's their clothing. We smooth, like the scripture said. Okay? Go ahead.
But if the eye is to be taken separately as counsel, which is called the warning of the understanding, then again there is a separate eye, which is a certain something devoid of sound reason, which is called opinion.
Oh, opinion. So Rock 324. Many have been deceived by their own vain opinion. But go ahead.
What does it mean?
So that's the third eye, your opinion. Y'all people trying to bring that to East Indian madness and all that.
I can see that through my third eye.
I can see that through my third eye and all this stuff like that, trying to sound all deep with the madness. No, that's your damn opinion. Okay? The opinion of Hashatan, Satan. Okay? Put an eye up here all of a sudden, man. That's only representing your mind. That's forming your goddamn vain opinion. That's all that is. Okay? You see what I'm saying? The Most High gave us right and wrong, good and evil. All right? And these things are spiritual. You know certain things. You know spiritually there's things that you ain't had to know that was written, and your spirit say this is off. That's why they get in the cartoon, you got the devil on one side, the angel on the other side. What is that? So that's a spiritual concept. Okay? Gone, huh? He said echolocation. I heard that term before. Give me that that definition. Go ahead.
Echolocation?
No.
Okay, I see. All right. What is the meaning of the expression because they knew that they were naked? That they first arrived at this knowledge of this fact, that is to say, of their nakedness, after they had eaten of the forbidden fruit. Therefore, opinion was like the beginning of wickedness.
Opinion?
When they perceived that they had not as yet used any covering, inasmuch as all parts of the universe were immortal and incorruptible, but they themselves immediately found themselves in need of some corruptible coverings made with hands. But this knowledge was in the nakedness itself, not as having been in itself the cause of any change, but because their mind now conceived the novelty unlike the rest of the universal world. Why they sewed fig leaves into girdles.
So this Philo, it gives a very, man, what word can I use?
It gives an in-depth look behind the heart of the matter concerning creation and the fall of our first parents. Helps you to understand the deception and how deep the deception went to where it caused the woman to partake of the tree of knowledge and then to pass that on to her husband. You know what I'm saying?
So this type of book you really have to read a couple of times, even with the scriptures, you know what I'm saying, and make sure that you have your dictionaries, you have your, you know what I'm saying, things of that nature to understand words, you know what I'm saying. So this is like a first run through, you know what I'm saying. I'll definitely go over it for real, you know what I'm saying, and get more of a deeper understanding. I mean, it's already letting you know what it is, man. You see what I'm saying? It's all spiritual, okay? Because we've been thinking that they were just walking around here butt naked and all that. You know what I'm saying? Like Esau put up the pictures of Adam and Eve butt naked and the whole nine. You feel me?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, stop it. You're living on a terrestrial plane. I'm sure they had summer, winter, fall in all the seasons. You gotta have some type of clothes on. Like, what are you talking about? The insects gonna tear you up. The elements gonna tear you up. You see what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about? And if we understand, you know, that the Garden of Eden was in Israel, they have all 4 seasons. So I mean, let's not be ignorant, man.
Right. You
know what I mean? Nobody's walking around, no human being. We're not born with a natural covering, right? You know what I'm saying? Only person was mentioned with that was Esau. You know what I'm saying? But he wasn't a damn gorilla or nothing. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever the case is.
He was just a real hairy human being.
Yeah, he was a real hairy human being. Like you see, one of my cousins was hairy. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead, Prince.
It says, why did they sew fig leaves into girdles?
Where you at right now?
Show me 41.
Show me your finger.
Right here.
All right, go ahead.
Why they sewed fig leaves into girdles? They did this in the first place because the fruit of the fig is very pleasant and agreeable to the taste. Therefore, the sacred historian here, by a symbolic expression, indicates those who do together and join pleasures to pleasures by every means and contrivance imaginable. Therefore, they bind them around the place where the parts of generation are sealed, and as that is the instrument of important transactions. Right.
So he's talking about the private areas. Okay? You see what I'm saying? Talking about the private areas. It's really going in the spiritual aspect of pleasures. Okay? These areas is pleasurable. You see what I'm saying? And so basically it seems that they're talking about they were enjoying the pleasures of your organs. Right? That is responsible for what? Generations. Creating what? Children. Offspring. Right? And the pleasure that came with sleep. Wisdom Solomon 71. Go ahead.
Alright, this is expression of the doom. Therefore they bind them around the place where the parts of generation are seated, as that is the instrument of important transactions, and they do so secondly because although the fruit of the fig tree is, as I've already said, sweeter than any other, yet its leaves are harder. And therefore Moses here wishes by this symbol to imitate that the notions of pleasure are slippery and smooth in appearance, but that they nevertheless are in reality hard, so that it is impossible that he who feels them should be delighted, unless he was previously sorrowful, and he will again become sorrowful. For to be always sorrow is a melancholy thing between a double grief, the one being at its beginning and the other coming before the first is ended.
So, go ahead. So, you know, when you look at like the leaves, right, they soft, they have life, right, when they're green, but then if they die, they get hard and brittle and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Right? I would look at that as terms of being immortal than being immortal and mortal. But I'm still looking at this information here, so I'm not going too deep on that one.
It says, what is meant by the statement that the sound was heard of Yah walking in the paradise? Was it the sound of his voice or his feet? And can Yah be said to talk? There are gods who are in heaven, perceptible to our outward senses, walk in a ring, proceeding onwards by a circuitous track, but the supreme cause is steadfast and immovable, as the ancients have decided. But the true power gives some indication also, as if he wished to give a sense of motion. For in truth, even without his uttering any words, the prophets hear him by a certain virtue of some diviner voice sounding in their ears, or perhaps being even articulately uttered. As therefore Yah is heard without uttering any sound, so also he gives an idea of walking when he is not walking, nay, though he is altogether immovable. But you do not see them before they had tasted of wickedness, as they were stable and constant, and immovable and tranquil and uniform. So also in an equal manner must they have looked upon the deity as immovable, as in fact he is. But they once had become endued with the...
He is. He is. I don't got no she there.
As in fact he is. It's like,
no, I'm not saying like, yeah. So it's just affirming that the Most High is a man in Philo. Okay, go ahead.
But they once had become endued with cunning. They, by judging from themselves, begin to strip him of his attributes of immobility and unchangeableness, and conjecture that he too was subject to variation and change. Why, while they are hiding themselves from the face of Yah, the woman is not mentioned first?
Right, so basically what I think I heard there is that they try to make the Most High like a physical thing, like he's actually walking in the garden.
Oh, you mean they tried to humanize him?
Yeah, humanize him. You see what I'm saying? Like, nah, okay? The Most High tells you the earth is my footstool, right? You see what I'm saying? What house can you build me? You know what I'm saying? Like, you think that YAHAWAH gonna be walking through the garden? You know what I'm saying? Himself. MASHAYACH YAHAWASHI, right? You know, the messenger, right? He came multiple times in the scriptures for those that understand these things. These angelic beings came down on the earth to deal with man and bring forth messages, right? Well, go ahead.
It says, and why, while they are hiding themselves from the face of Yah, the woman is not mentioned first, since she was the first to eat of the forbidden fruit? Why the man is spoken of in the first place, for the sacred historian's words are, and Adam and his wife hid themselves. The woman being imperfect and depraved by nature.
What? The woman being deprived, what?
The woman being imperfect and depraved by nature.
Imperfect and deprived by nature. Listen to this. The woman being what? Deprived or imperfect and deprived by nature?
Yeah, the woman being imperfect and depraved by nature, made the beginning of sin and prevaricating. But the man, as being the most excellent and perfect creature.
The most excellent and perfect creature, the man being the most perfect and excellent creation versus the woman. I know somebody gonna be mad now. Read it from the top again, brother.
The woman being imperfect and depraved by nature, made the beginning of sinning and prevaricating.
Now this is in Philo, and also it's recorded in the book of Sirach. Right? 25, I believe it is. Of the woman became the beginning of sin, and through her we all die. 1 Timothy 2. Right? Adam was not in the transgression, but the woman being in the transgression. Go ahead.
As to being the more excellent and perfect creature, was the first to set the example of blushing and of being ashamed.
First to set the example of what?
Blushing and being ashamed.
Blushing and being ashamed.
And in need of every good feeling and action.
And of every good feeling and action. So this woman is bringing this reality of what happened in the garden, and it's confirming that it's the woman that was created to be not perfect, right? But also goes to Ecclesiastes when the Most High said, out of 1,000 women you have found not one, but out of 1,000 men you have found one to be upright. These things is correlating, right? These things are correlating. But go ahead. So in order for you to be what I'm looking at, in order for the women to be perfect or in that type of realm, they must be submitted to a man that leads them. So they won't fall victim to these seductions in the world.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But go ahead.
Why did they not hide themselves in some other place but in the middle of the trees of the paradise? Everything is not done by sinners with wisdom and sagacity, but it often happens that while thieves are watching for an opportunity of plunder, having no thoughts of the deity who presides over the world, the booty which is close to them and lying at their feet is by some admirable management wrested from them without delay.
The booty.
And something of this kind took place on the present occasion. For when they ought rather to have fled to a distance from the guard in which their offense had taken place, they were still arrested in that middle of the paradise itself, in order that they might be convicted of their sin too clearly to find any refuge, even in flight itself.
Where you at right there on that page? Where you at? You going down to that highlight? Okay, yeah, go down. I want to see what that highlight talks about. Go ahead.
All right. When they thought they fled, okay.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, you want the highlight?
No, bring it all the way down then, I guess.
Okay. It says, for when they thought to have fled to a distance from the guard in which their offense had been taking place, they were still arrested in the middle of paradise itself, in order that they might be convicted of their sin too clearly to find any refuge, even in flight itself. And this statement indicates, in a figurative manner, that every wicked man takes refuge in wickedness. That every man who is wholly devoted to his passions flies to those passions as to an asylum.
Wow.
So like a crazy man going to the asylum, so is a wicked man to his devices.
Man. So that's almost sound like you go back to the crime spot if you committed the crime.
And and it even talks about in the 66 how a fool returning to his folly.
Right, returning to his vomit.
We can't be dogs walking around here smelling like throw up, man. You know what I mean? I know there are some devout men in Israel. I know there are, and we stumble. We all make mistakes.
Right.
But sometimes we'll make the same mistakes. It won't look like a mistake. It'll just look like a repeat offense. You know what I mean? So we got to be mindful of how we moving and how we doing things, and we cannot let these vices or devices. We can't let these things trip us up and have us falling out here, looking like puss. You know what I mean? Says, and this statement indicates in a figurative manner that every wicked man takes refuge in wickedness, and that every man who is wholly devoted to his passions flies to those passions as to an asylum. That's heavy. Why does Yah ask Adam, "Where art thou?" when he knows everything? And why does he not also put the same question to the woman?
Right, so this is the question. Where art thou? Where art thou? This is the question asked to Adam and not the woman. But go ahead, let's see what he said about this. Go ahead.
The expression, "Where art thou?" does not here seem to be a mere interrogatory, but rather a threat or a threat and a conviction. Where art thou now, O man? From how many good things art thou changed? Having forsaken immortality and a life of the most perfect happiness, you have become changed to death and misery, in which you are buried.
Hey,
Yikes.
man, Jeremiah said, and death should be chosen rather than life. And this is what happens. And that's because what? That statement is because they forsake the Most High law, statute, commandments as they did in the garden. And now, instead of being a mortal being, you now are mortal. You see what I'm saying? And you're in the shadow of death. You're death, walking dead. Right? We are all walking dead. We are born to die. You see what I'm saying? When we was born to live forever. But now we're born and we're born to die. Every day we dying.
Dying daily.
Dying daily, man. You know what I'm saying? As long as you live, you're going to see that time the Most High gave us after a while. Because of time.
And then here go another thing. The minute you're born, you start dying.
Right.
The minute you are pushed out into this world, there go the death clock and start. Boom.
Yep. Clock is ticking. And you may think, well, I'm getting bigger, I'm, this, that, and the third. But
it may not be knowing, it may be time for you to cash in your chips. You know what I'm saying? So let's make sure as men of Yah, let's make sure that we always try to stay on the straight and narrow path. And I know it sounds like, easier said than done, but look at what the wise man does, man. The wise man learns from the mistakes of others. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing wrong with being a smart or an intelligent man. Nothing wrong with that. But wisdom will have you where you'll look at the mistakes of others, or you'll look at these accounts as like what we learned in the scriptures. And these accounts, you'll be like, well, I don't want this to befall me, but to befall my brethren. So one of the main things that we'll try to put our focus on is walking in righteousness and being an example of what spiritual integrity look like. You know what I'm saying? We can't try to do it according to how the world dresses it up, because they don't follow the set apart lifestyle. That's really on us to do. So says, but Yah did not condescend to put any question to the woman at all, looking upon her as the cause of the evil which had occurred, and as the guide to her husband to a life of. Do we need to read that one again?
You got to read that again.
But Yah did not condescend to put any question to the woman at all.
He didn't even go to her level, didn't even deal with that situation. Go ahead.
Looking upon her as the cause of the evil which had occurred.
He looked upon her as the cause of the evil that had occurred.
And as the guide to her husband to a life of shame.
And she guided him, right? She guided him to this life, right? And a guide to him, what?
A life of shame.
A life of shame, man. See? She guided him to a life of shame. Okay? And she is the cause right here in the book of Philo, as it was written in the records. You can get in your bag or you want. All right?
You'll be all right.
You'll be all right.
One thing about the truth, if you have what, you know, because I hear a lot of people say, this is my truth, this is my truth. You know, the truth, man, it defecates all over your truth. Throw your truth in the trash. It ain't gonna never weigh up. You know, Adam tried to use his truth. You see what happened. You know what I mean? So when you look at this account, just know that, you know, we'll need to realize just how much heat we're gonna take if we don't really get a handle on the situation between man and woman. You know what I mean?
And see, it's going to edify, like what the brother said, Adam's truth, because when you read this and understand, you see that Adam answered everything in the spirit correctly. He didn't deviate anything. They're going to tell you why he went off, the reason why Adam went off, and the judgment. You see what I'm saying? It's not what you think it is. See what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Right.
Because right here substantiated the evil is what the woman did, and she guided her husband, led him into destruction. Okay? You see what I'm saying? Go ahead.
But there's an allegorical meaning in the passage. Because the principal part is the man, his guide, the mind, having in its but there is an allegorical meaning in this passage. Because the principal part is the man, his guide, the mind, having in itself the masculine principle. When it gives ear to anyone, introduces also the defect of the female part,
right?
Namely that of the outward sense. Why the man says, the woman gave me of the tree and I did eat, but the woman does not say the serpent gave to me, but the serpent beguiled me and I did eat. Did y'all understand that question?
So that statement, if you read it one more time, that statement up there about the man, the intellect.
But there is an allegorical meaning in this passage, because the principal part is the man.
Part is the man. Yeah.
And his guide, the mind, having in itself the masculine principle. When it gives ear to anyone, introduces also the defect of the female.
Right. So he's listening to the feminist. That is a feminist vibration to go against our masculine principle, the intellect that we already have in us, and get seduced by the feminist outward operations or whatever they're out here. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. We don't supposed to be seduced by the outward things. Go ahead.
But let's say when it gives any ear to anyone, introduces also the defect of the female part, namely that of the outward sense.
Right, so you can't gas me up with your doctrines. You see what I'm saying? You're not going to seduce me with these worldly concepts. You see what I'm saying? Straight up and down. Many have tried and have failed.
You know, I love the scriptures like that, because one of the things that makes what we do so stand out is you can't be easy to manipulate. That's gonna make you hard to deal with. If you're in that space right now, all praises to the Most High Yah, because He's not gonna allow you to be easily swayed by the doctrine of devils or the doctrines of men or their traditions. You know what I'm saying? And so it really takes having to shed a lot of the hoopla that comes with this Americanized, westernized mindset. If you look at it, it even effeminates the man, right, to some degree, because now if he doesn't move with a righteous mindset, or he allows himself to be led by the influences of the world, right, he might, for lack of a better term, be walking around with his nuts in his woman's purse. Right. You know what I'm saying?
You see what I'm saying? We must stand in our power, man, and your intellect that was divinely given to you. Okay? Yeah. As being the leader, being the ruler, being the Godhead over the woman and over all things on the earth.
And we ain't saying be brutal. We ain't saying be abusive. We saying lead in righteousness. Lead because you're being led. Every leader has to be led. You know what I'm saying? So if you're a leader, where do you get your leadership role from? You ain't just wake up one day and be like, well, maybe I'm born with it. Nah, the Most High Yah has to get it to you. He's the reason why we even have these mindsets to be leaders in the first place. So we have to seek Him on how to be better leaders and then lead according to the examples which were given. Why the man says the woman gave me of the tree and I did eat, but the woman does not say the serpent gave to me, but the serpent beguiled me and I did eat.
Right, read that part again.
Why the man says the woman gave me of the tree and I did eat, but the woman does not say the serpent gave me,
right,
the serpent beguiled me and I did eat.
Right. Let's see why is this being said. Go ahead.
This literal expression here affords grounds for that probable opinion that woman is accustomed rather to be deceived than to devise anything of the importance out of her own head.
Woo! Bomb. Sheesh, great goodness. Now read that again.
The literal expression here affords grounds for that probable opinion that woman is accustomed rather to be deceived.
She's accustomed to being deceived, man.
Rather than to devise anything of importance out of her own head.
Look at that. Look at that, man. That's why she has to be guided, man. That's why she has to be led, man. And she was being led by Satan instead of being led by her head that the Most High gave her. You see what I'm saying? That's why the scripture continues to tell you about the woman obey her own husband continuously. You see? Right? So this is hard body, man. But let's go. Let's see what it's saying.
But with the man, the case is just the contrary.
Oh, it's the opposite of what we just read about the woman. Go ahead.
But as regards the intellect,
which is the man, represents the man. Intellect represents the man.
Everything which is the object of the outward senses beguiles and seduces each particular sense of every imperfect being to which it is adapted.
See, now the intellect can be, right, deceived by the outward senses, right? That's why Scripture said, stumble not at the beauty of a woman and desire her not for pleasure. But many have been deceived by the beauty of a woman.
Many have erred.
And erred and stumbled, right? First Ezra. You see what I'm saying? Because she's that beauty to us. That's our glory. Okay? And then you can understand and see when you look at all the examples of Samson. Look at the look at David.
Solomon. You look at Jezebel. Jezebel is a very, very prime example because you got a king who's responsible for the nation, for leading the nation. He got the prophets. He got his own, so he had no excuse. But what did he do? He went and married outside his race. And when he married outside his race, she basically brought him down and it helped to bring the nation down. You know what I'm saying? So we got to look at these examples because, again, we don't want to be those men who are falling short because of fleshly matters. You know what I'm saying? It says, but with the man, the case is just the contrary. But as regards the intellect, everything which is the object of the outward senses beguiles and seduces each particular sense, very imperfect being to which it is adapted. And the sense then being vitiated by the object infects the dominant and principal part, the mind with its own taint.
Dominant and principal part, which is the mind. Nothing happens but through the mind.
Yeah. Therefore, the mind receives the impression from the outward sense.
See that? Like we were saying earlier. Your mind is interpreting and learning from the outward senses. Right? The five senses deal with that. Mainly your sight. Okay? Go ahead.
For the outward sense is deceived and beguiled by the sensible objects submitted to it. But the senses of the wise man are infallible.
Right, but the sense of the wise man is infallible, man. When you stand on that truth. Go ahead.
As are also the cogitations of his mind. Why? Yah curses the serpent first, then the woman, and the man last of all.
Let's see what he said about this. Go ahead.
The reason is that the order of the verses followed the order in which the offenses were committed. The first offense was the deceit practiced by the serpent. The second was the transgression of the woman, which was owing to him when she was abandoning herself to his seduction. The third thing was the guilt of the man in yielding rather to the inclination of the woman than to the commandment of Yah.
Oh, go ahead. I got lost because I was trying to make sure I got on this term. Read that again.
All right. It says the reason that the order of the verses following the order in which the offenses were committed.
Right.
The first offense was the deceit practiced by the serpent. The second was the transgression of the woman, which was owing to him when she was abandoning herself to his seduction.
Woo! There go that transgression again being said. Go ahead.
The third thing was the guilt of the man.
The guilt of the man,
rather to the inclination of the woman than to the commandment of Yah.
Listening to the woman. Listening to the woman. That was his sin. That's why he went off. Listening to the woman. It was not him just eating up no fruit. It was him listening, like it says, hearken onto the woman. Okay? Hearken onto the woman. Because Adam, he's the intellect, right? So he wasn't going to stumble outside of her. But he stumbled because of her.
But this order is very admirable, containing within itself a perfect allegory, inasmuch as the serpent is the emblem of desire, as is proved, and the woman of the outward sense, but the man is the symbol of intellect.
So the woman is the outward sense, and it said, what about Satan again? What it said about
Satan comes off, the serpent is the emblem of desire.
So Satan represents the desire, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, whatever.
And the pride of life.
Pride of life, go ahead.
And the woman of the outward sense.
So she's more, how you say, susceptible?
She's more susceptible to flattery, to beguilement, to being finessed.
Being finessed. The outward spirit. You see what I'm saying? That's why, man. Go ahead,
but the man is the symbol of intellect. And what that means basically is and y'all, me and you'll be able to relate, we question everything. That's why most of us have erred because of women, because most times women ain't just shooting at men like that. You know what I'm saying? So if you get beguiled by a woman, the first thing you think was like, well, I thought she really liked me. It was a finesse game. But so when it happens once, two, maybe three times, whatever, what happens is the smart man gets wise. And he starts looking at these situations and he's saying, oh, that's not gonna happen to me no more. Now he becomes sharper. Now he on his toes, and even though there's pretty women everywhere, he's not beguiled by them. He's not able to be finessed by one because he's not giving sway to their advances. You know, they can be persuasive. And if we ain't careful, we don't see these things being problematic, then we'll fall victim to these situations time and again.
And also to add to that, you see what I'm saying, because of our desire or her being our glory, you know what I'm saying, and we love that beauty or whatever that beauty is to each individual man, that she can break you down by her feminine, you know what I'm saying, wows, you see what I'm saying, right? And so you got to be careful, because women are, like what happened with Samson, she broke him down.
So
she kept continuously asking the man the same questions over and over and over again, and he never just sat down and stood on, hey, stop asking me that question, man. I'm not telling you nothing. But he was playing a game with her, like, all right, I'm gonna play this game with her. You see what I'm saying? I'm just gonna lie to her or tell her whatever. You know what I'm saying? Instead of being affirmed,
digging the hole.
Yeah, digging holes, man. Stop that out, man.
Right, digging the hole, man. But the man is the symbol of intellect. Therefore, the infamous author of the sin is desire, and that first deceives the outward sense, and then the outward sense captivates the mind.
There you go.
Wow.
Mind, the intellect, the man, right? The outward represents the woman. The intellect is the man.
Right.
Okay?
So men, 3 words. Guard your hearts. Guard your hearts, man. It's cool to be, it's cool to love the women. It's cool. It's cool to have a wife. It's cool to, have wives. It's cool. But just be mindful. Be sharp. Be on your guard. Don't just be pulled in by the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. You hear that the ruach in your spirit, telling you, hey man, 9 out of 10 you ought to listen. 10 times out of 10 you ought to listen. You know what I'm saying? Just so you won't have your integrity tarnished with the Most High. I mean, it would only make sense. Why the curse is pronounced on the serpent in this manner, that he shall go to his breast and on his belly and eat dust, and be at enmity with the woman. The words in themselves are plain enough, and we have evidence of them in what we have seen. But the real meaning contains an allegory concealed beneath it, since the serpent is the emblem of desire, representing a figure of man devoted to pleasure. Hold on, make sure I read the word.
Yeah, read that one.
But the real meaning contains an allegory concealed beneath it, since the serpent is the emblem of desire, representing under a figure a man devoted to pleasure. For he creeps upon his breast and upon his belly, being filled with meat and drink like cormorants, being inflamed by an insatiable cupidity, and being incontinent in their voracity and devouring of flesh, so that whatever relates to food is in every article something earthly, on which account he is said to eat the dust. Good for him. But desire has naturally a quarrel with the outward sense, which Moses here symbolically calls the woman, but where the passions appear to be as it were guardians and champions in behalf of the senses. Nevertheless, they are beyond all questions, still more clearly flatterers, forming devices against them like so many enemies, and it is the custom of those who are contending with one another to perpetrate greater evils by means of these things which they conceive. Did y'all understand that? Did y'all catch that?
Break it down, because I zoned out for me. I was listening, but then I zoned.
It says, in the scripture says, we can't be ignorant of Satan's devices. This how cold the game is. In the year 5783, you know what they did, y'all? They put lust inside of electronic devices. They knew that the man at some point would get to a space where he would become strong in the Most High Yah, and then to keep that man in a space of mortality, here goes these devices. And it ain't even gotta be pornography. It could be anything. It could be, we got things we like. We got things we want to attain in life. We got things that we're trying to add on to. And so what this thing does, this programming, it allows for a man who is void of understanding to be led astray or to be pulled to many different directions. It causes his destruction. And a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. So we have to be very careful, again, just with the things that we're learning, with the things that we're observing, with the way people try to dress up a thing, knowing that it's wicked, but they'll try to dress it up as a good thing. We must stand firm on our post.
Right. And don't be deceived. That's not gonna come in the package of that woman. Even growing up as a child, I noticed that the homosexual agenda was pushed through the woman. It was pushed through the feminine. Okay? Right. They didn't bring out the man in the media and all that stuff like that. They brought out the women making love, what they call making love, being passionate and intimate in the whole nine. And They kept doing this. Years they kept doing this. Okay? Right. You see what I'm saying? So it became normal. It started to become a normal thing to see. And then the man would be like, like, oh, okay, shoot. Hey, if I see my wife or with another woman, I'll just join in, right? So it broke the man down that he didn't even argue it anymore, that he wanted to partake in it, but not knowing that it was not for you to partake in, because she didn't want to be with you anyway. And that's when they started bringing out Antoines. And then once they brought out Antoine, it was over.
Yeah, it pretty much went downhill from there.
It went downhill from there. So then when they put the big billboard with the two black boys hugging and kissing, it was a Reynolds.
They put that up there, up here too, huh? That gay is the new black.
Yeah, they had that billboard up there.
This whole whack campaign, man, trying to make it seem like that's what we do, and knowing that came from European civilization, man. That was never us.
Right.
That ain't our people.
And they had the brothers looking urban together. I was like, oh,
looking real.
Thugs.
Say urban.
Urban works. I was like, man, yo, come on, man.
Straight up.
Finished.
Straight up. Look what it says. It says, forsooth, they turn the eyes to the ruin of the sight, the ears to the hearing what is unwelcome, and the rest of the outward senses to insensibility. Moreover, they cause disillusion and paralysis to the entire body, taking away from it all soundness, and foolishly building up a great number of most mischievous diseases. Man, I that's heavy. So, men, please, again, we are not speaking against our women. We are speaking specifically about being smart, being wise, being cautious, being on your toes, and not just laying down and coming up with STDs, sexually transmitted demons. You gotta be very careful. You feel what I'm saying? But this also helps to understand why they push this agenda so hard, or they even, before it was ever like super hard, the gay agenda, they really pushed this whole sex agenda, this whole safe sex agenda. But just look at the programming. Even if it's something that's for kids, they'll try to make it kind of sexual based so that they can push it. You know what I'm saying? So again, this just goes back to, man, just being on your post, and not allowing everything to cross your threshold, not allowing everything to be taken into your bosom, which is just not a good look. Says, why the curse pronounced against the woman is the multiplication of her sadness and groans, that she shall bring forth children in sorrow, and that her desire shall be to her husband, and that she shall be ruled over by him. Every woman who is the companion for life of a husband suffers all those things, not indeed as a curse, but as necessary evils. But speaking figuratively, the human sense is wholly subjected to severe labor and pain, being stricken and wounded by domestic agitations. Now the following are the train in the service of the outward senses. The sight is the servant of the eyes, hearing of the ears, smelling of the nostrils, taste of the mouth, feeling of the touch. That's what the sight is. Since the life of the worthless and wicked man is full of pain and want, it rises of necessity from these facts that everything which is done in accordance with the outward sense must be mingled with pain and fear. In respect of the mind, a conversion of the outward sense takes place towards the man, not as to a companion for it, like the woman is subject to authority as being depraved, but as to a master,
subject to authority.
Because it has chosen violence rather than justice.
Man, listen, we're going to have to read that again, you know what I'm saying? And you should get the book of Philo. That's towards the back of the book. I think it's page 848 that we read.
Oh, no, we're at page 801.
Yeah, 801.
But we read quite a ways, so y'all. We started at we started at 798. Yeah, we started at 798, and we are over here on the other side
And it's in the questions and what?
Questions and answers on Genesis. You know what I'm saying? 801. Gotta be on your guards, yo. Got to be on your 10 toes down.
Come on.
That's to be, man.
So I think that was a great reading, man. You know what I'm saying? Definitely gonna go over that. You know what I'm saying? And I read that once. I highlighted a few things. I'm gonna go over it again. And you know, the brother, you know what I'm saying, been dwelling with me, man. He took sort of book and started going into it. And I was like, go ahead, do your thing. You feel me? So you know, we just got back in St. Louis, man. All praise to go to the Most High. I don't know how long we've been on the live, but it definitely killed the time. I think it was like an hour and a half, hour, whatever, maybe. You know what I'm saying? And shoot, we home. We back in the city. All praise to go to the Most High. We off this, well, I'm off this Labor Day, so-called Labor Day. You know what I'm saying? So I'm probably gonna get a little rest. You know, I gotta do a report for college. You know what I'm saying? I'm back in school, going to University of Missouri. You know what I'm saying? So I got some things I gotta do on that end. And just get prepared for the work week, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm planning on doing a couple, maybe a lesson on some subject and stuff like that. But you know, I'm gonna put up that concert video on my channels. And yeah, man, probably work on that video that we did out there today. I don't know what it is, but this Saturday, Most High will, Shabbat, or this weekend, I should say, we're gonna do that music video called Kingdom. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna bring the visuals to life.
Yeah, man.
Right? And B Hood Production is gonna be shooting the music video and editing it, so it's gonna be fire. We're gonna be up in the Ozarks. You know what I'm saying? And it's gonna be lit. It's gonna be you know, spiritual, I should say, man, because that song is like that, man. You know what I'm saying? Not to toot my own horn, but you know, Prince Nawa brought it all the way out. You know what I'm saying? And you know, shout out to the songwriter Amos, who wrote that crazy hook. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I mean? And was threw the song to me. You know what I'm saying? And told me to do what I do on it. We put it together, man, as a team effort, man, and it's a good song. I really like the song. I was able to express some things, and we're gonna bring it to the visuals now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, man, I enjoyed the reading. Of course, we gotta read it again and again. And it's so crazy now because I'm in school, and this semester is all about the brain and how education, you know what I'm saying, and the brain is synonymous, man. You see what I'm saying? So it's perfect that we went over that. So I'm going to actually go over that a couple more times based off, the classes I have taken, right? That's dealing with the psychology. It's a psychology classes. So I got social economic situations, stuff like that. How the brain and poverty affects the children, educationally wise, all these different things. Because it's just crazy how, you know what I'm saying, it was going into the census and things of that nature, man. So, you never know, people can act like, knowledge is this, knowledge is infinite, man. You see what I'm saying? And so it all correlates to the Most High, MASHAYACH, in some way or fashion. Okay? Because the Most High made all things. He made good and evil. You know what I'm saying? Right? But it's for us to understand. Like you said, the knowledge of wickedness is not knowledge. It's not righteous knowledge. You know what I'm saying? But it's knowledge. Right? But yeah, man. So it's just interesting how that chapter, those things was going into the senses and talking about the brain and the mind. You know what I mean? And the outward senses and things of that nature. So yeah. So anything you want to say, Prince Emanon, man?
Seek ye first the kingdom. Don't nothing else matter no more, man. It's kingdom goes or nothing. repent or die. Period.
All praise to go to the Most High, man. That's our morning session, man. We did our first morning session together.
Hallelujah.
All praise to go to the Most High. I hope we did a decent job. I know we could have did better, but you know, that's our first time really going through that joint. You know what I'm saying? So any one of you intellectual brothers out there, because we are the intellect.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You get this book or get the records, or you was able to hear some things that you got a better understanding, share it in the comment section or whatever part you know what I'm saying, you want to emphasize, you know what I'm saying, what we was reading. And you sisters, because, you know, don't get it twisted, our sisters are academically smart, okay? You know what I'm saying? And, you know, knowledge shall increase, right? You understand? So let's not just get tunnel vision and think that,
you know, we dissing women,
you know
or we
what I'm saying?
saying y'all dumb. No.
You know what I mean?
The scriptures are saying the scriptures are not saying y'all dumb. The scriptures just putting a difference between a wise woman and a wicked woman. Just like it put a difference between a righteous man and an unrighteous man, a wicked man and a set apart man, a foolish man and a man who chases after the wisdoms of the Most High Yah. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's the reality. If we can understand that, then a lot of the falsehoods that come with this narrative, that, you know, we kind of bang on each other, that can be removed. This is really about seeing where we fall short at. I got it wrong. Let me get it right. This is not something where we banging on each other. This is where we should all corporately look at what we're doing so we can move in righteousness. It fulfills prophecy and it gets us back to the Most High Yah. That's just reality.
Right, man. It is what it is, according to the script. You feel me? It is what it is, according to the script. And that's just what it is, y'all.
All praise.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, all praise go to YAHAWASHI and MASHAYACH, YAHAWASHI, E37 Ministries, man. We out here, E37 Entertainment, righteous music, whatever. And, you know, shout out to Jeremiah. Hope you got home safe, brother. You ain't let us know what it was. But shout out to the house of Zeph. You know what I'm saying? For the hospitality. You know what I'm saying? For the Memphis fam. You know what I'm saying? We see you soon. Most I will. And shout out to the family in the Ozarks, man. You know what I'm saying? Most I will. We see y'all this weekend, baby. Let's get it. Shalom. Shalom, Yashar. I love.